Okay, we are finally live. Hello, everybody.
Woo!
We made it
Is
after
that
a bajillion technical
wait, what's
difficulties.
that? No, is that your music?
Is that somehow coming through?
Yes.
Oh,
Or I
hell
just wasn't expecting it because last time it didn't.
Last time
Or
it did
no
work.
other
I
time did
don't
it.
know why that's working, but it's working. All right, cool.
it's really good music. I like it. Is this from the series?
Yes, this is some music from the series. I've got a playlist of music from the
It's
series.
cute.
It's a cute one. So make that tweet there. Check that post on Facebook there. And we are ready to go. Finally. So yeah, just a bit of preface. I was planning to stream this an hour and 20 minutes ago, but then OBS died. I had to restart my computer, and then my Windows decided to take an hour to update. So then I had to like reset up all my audio devices again. So holy crap, we're very late, but we're finally here. This stream is probably going to be a bit shorter than I originally planned, but we'll do as much as we can. Worth noting, today is actually the the 30th of September, and that is a special day in Toaru. What I want to do for this stream, my goal is to get to the 30th of September in the timeline. Just before we like get into it proper, I just wanted to address some criticisms people had of the first video. Um, Now we've got CJ and Lizzie here again. Sorry, I forgot to introduce you two. Hello, hello. Are you still there?
Yo,
I'm Lizzie.
There we
and
go.
I'm CJ.
Perfect. We got spooky music. So yeah, basically, when I talked about Crowley, I kind of flubbed some details. One of the important concepts to cover when talking about Toaru is the concept of phases. So in Toaru, the idea of a phase is basically it's a layer of distortion upon reality. And this is a very vague and poorly explained term in the series, but it refers to a bunch of different things. So basically, the idea they have is every time a new religion is introduced to the world, that adds another phase onto reality. Um, and those phases include things like conflicting ideas of heaven and hell. Like heaven and hell are in fact phases in Toaru, and phases can contain their own life forms. They can contain their own energy. Um, but yeah, basically each religion adds a new phase to reality, and also magic gods painting over the world again and again is also adding phases. Um, and one of the central concepts in the story is this idea of sparks and spray. Now, this is basically what occurs when you have magic practice that is. Well, this is my understanding. Basically, when you have magic practice that incorporates a number of different religions and pantheons, then it basically causes conflict between these phases. And that is going to cause a recoil, which some of the magicians call sparks and spray. And this comes in the form of misfortune, which can be redistributed randomly throughout the world. The magic gods have explained that you know, whenever they use magic in Kakuryō, that causes massive sparks and spray that can have like big effects in the world down below. But yeah, like especially with Thelma and the Golden Dawn, whenever they use magic, they're able to protect themselves from the recoil, the sparks and spray. But then that recoil gets redistributed somewhere else. In the case of Crowley, what ended up happening was the sparks and spray actually ended up causing his daughter Lilith to become cursed, and that's why she was destined to die. And that also ties into Crowley's motivations because he ends up resenting the magic gods for this. Basically, what he wants to do is he wants to get rid of all the phases, and he wants to create a world that is, pure and untainted by any religion. He describes it. His way of describing it is a world of pure science. But interestingly, that doesn't necessarily mean what we think it means, because I mentioned that being the high chief. High chief, that's what they call it, isn't it? Secret chief Iwas. He is supposedly a being of the pure world, untainted by any religion. He's like primordial, and so that's why he is key to Crowley's plan to get rid of the phases. And also worth noting, I mentioned that I actually got an error in the last video. I mentioned that basically Crowley made plans to save his daughter, but I was wrong about that. I actually said it wrong. It was a misspeak. Basically what happened was Crowley, as far as he understood it, his daughter was cursed and died. And that's where he basically ends up with his resentment towards the magic gods and religion and all that. But what actually happened was Iwas basically took Lilith's soul and ended up taking it to a hidden phase so that he can eventually bring her back to life in a new body. That's kind of a secret thing, but I'm doing everything in chronological order, so I had to explain that. All right, so with that said, is everyone ready to start getting into the series proper?
Your music is pretty loud.
I'll turn it down a little bit. Sorry. Yeah, thanks for noting that.
Okay.
I can see
There
the
we
audio.
go.
I can see the audio levels on OBS, but can't see it for you guys. So yeah, let me know if the audio is a bit wacky. I'll turn it up a tiny
It's all
bit.
good now.
I'll turn it up a tiny bit there. That should be good. Okay, let's continue. Did you hear everything I said though?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whether or not I understood it, now that's a different question.
No, it's cool. It's cool. I don't fully understand it either. It's really vague. So,
What day is it today?
Today is the
That is a
30th.
good question.
30th of September. We're not up to 30th of September yet. But where we are in the story, let's see. So we just covered the events of the first book of Index, which was around July 19. Oh, so we were in July. What happens after that? We have on the 26th of July, there's an event in a little side story called Toaru no Fanfare, which is basically, it details the story of, there's this, what's her name? There's a young Kihara girl. Kihara freak. She's like such a minor character, I can barely remember her name. And can't find her picture. But there's a young Kihara girl that's basically trying to investigate Esper powers, and she comes across Mikoto and Gunha. So as we know, Misaka Mikoto is the number 3 level 5. Why did the music stop? Let's bring that back. Oh, yep, that'll do. Spooky music. So we got Misaka here, the number 3 level 5, and we also have Sogita Gunha. Let me see if I can bring him up really quickly. Gunha? There he is. Notably, he has the Imperial flag as a shirt. In the recent Railgun T anime, they actually edited that out because they realized how kind of insensitive that is. So, yeah, that's a thing. Anyway, basically, Sogita Gunha is really interesting. He is actually a gemstone, but he was brought into Academy City as part of their curriculum because they took interest in his ability. What's his ability? Guts. It's really poorly defined. It's like, I guess I would describe him as a tokusatsu protagonist. He is able to channel energy into his fists and cause very bizarre effects. He can like punch things no matter how strong they are. He can block anything with his fists. He can jump into the air. He can jump in the air. He can double jump. He can produce explosions behind him for dramatic impact. There's basically nothing he can't do, it seems. It's just like he has the power of the world kind of contorting to his will. I guess you could kind of compare it to something like Spiral Energy from Gurren Lagann. If you've seen that series. It's quite ridiculous. But yeah, he's ranked as a number 7, level 5. They didn't rank him higher because they can't understand his power. It's really funny. But basically, this side story is all about Mikoto and Gunha get into a fight. It ends up being unresolved, but it's kind of the first time Mikoto has actually gone all out on someone, so it's noteworthy for that alone. And that's, I don't know, the side story doesn't have much to it. It's basically the bulk of it.
And this one is before Railgun?
This one's in between.
Wait, no. Railgun's first, right? And then Index, and then in between there's this. What you said, fanfare?
Yeah, this is a short side story.
Okay.
Now, the thing about Toaru is all the chronology is very dense around this point in the timeline. There's lots of different storylines going on from different parts of the series. So we have the start of Railgun. So like the first 13 episodes of Railgun have happened basically. And then this story happens. The first 6 episodes of Index. And then after that we have in July 29, the white, like 3 days later, the White Alligator arc. Full disclosure, I don't know about this. This is a Toaru Kagaku no Railgun PSP game. It has an original story and it was also adapted into a novel that I haven't read yet. I don't know much about it. I think like I should have taken notes of what goes on in it. Yeah, I don't fucking remember. Sorry. We'll skip that one. And then we're moving on to the beginning of August. One event that's worth mentioning is the Aztec magician Etzali infiltrates Academy City. Etzali is here. Basically, Etzali comes under orders of his organization Return of the Winged One, which is like an organization that kind of unites all the magic cabals of Central and South America. They primarily use Aztec magic. And basically what Return of the Winged One is, they're seeing what's happening with basically in the story of Index and Railgun, and basically seeing all this stuff happening, and they're beginning to judge a growing threat because we've got characters like Style, Kanzaki, Index, and Mikoto all gathering around Toma. And so this is a lot of powerful people that are kind of joining together under a common interest, sort of. And so basically this organization has sent Etzali into Academy City to investigate whether or not this faction poses a threat to the Cabal. Around this time, we also have the story of Hishigata and Hirumi. Hishigata was that guy that was researching necromancy and trying to figure out if he can replicate Esper powers in a dead body. His sister Hirumi here dies, and it causes Hishigata to go into grief. But basically, Hishigata uses Esper, the Rosenthal necromancer, to attempt to resurrect Hirumi. And she does, but she basically infuses her body with the artificial spirit Toaru. And as we explained earlier last time, Toaru is actually inhabited by the spirit of Isaac, the ancestor of the Rosenthals. And we don't know this yet, but basically there's kind of this conflict there of they don't know whether this is actually Hirumi or if it's actually Isaac or if it's actually some demon. Like, they don't really know, but Hishigata chooses to believe that it's his dead sister come back to life, and basically pushes Esther out. But Esther's like, oh no, this is bad, I gotta stop them. So basically what happens here is Hirumi, actually Isaac, tells Hishigata of a way to basically become a level 6. Level 6 in this case being what Isaac would refer to as, a god, a divine being, which is basically the goal of the Rosenthal family, is to create a perfect golem that is basically a divine being, which is exactly the same as what level 6 is, ironically. And the way that they explain this is, if they can get a body that has the memories of 10,000 deaths, then they will be able to they'll be able to create a perfect body and become level 6 / divine golem thingy. And so Hishigata begins plans to do that. Basically, as we explained earlier, what we have is there are the sisters, the clones of Misaka Mikoto, who are being killed in the level 6 shift experiment. Do you remember that? I think I explained that.
Who is it?
Misaka Moto. So remember the 10,000 sisters that were created from Misaka?
Yes, they do.
Yeah. Did I explain the level 6 shift project or what they're being used for?
I believe so.
I think so. This one was before.
Don't worry about the timeline too much. But basically, the sisters were created. They were trying to create a level 5. They couldn't. All the sisters ended up level 3 or 2. But then they decided what we can do is we can use these sisters for creating a level 6. And the idea was that if we get them all to fight Accelerator, the number 1 Esper in Academy City, eventually he will turn into a level 6. You know, the analogy I used was grinding out thousands of slimes to level up. So yeah, basically this experiment is ongoing at this point in the story. There's already thousands and thousands of these sisters have already been killed by Accelerator. It's happening. But basically Hishigata plans, he realizes, because the Misaka network, all these sisters remember the thousands of times they've died. So what he comes up with the idea of, if he can get a copy of the memories of one of those sisters, he will have a body that has experienced 10,000 deaths. This is a thing in Kabbalah. The idea is you can achieve Keta if you experience 10,000 deaths in the process of reincarnation, basically. So it kind of like uses that as a shortcut to create a divine golem. And that's basically what Hishigata's plan is. Later on, we'll get into that a bit more. But that's basically how that goes. So another thing, on the 1st of August, the events of Toaru Kakaku no Railgun SS Ueharu take place. This is another short story that focuses on Ueharu. It's really, basically, it's Ueharu being badass. She has to like stop a runaway truck that's been hacked into and is going to like kill a bunch of people, and she jumps onto the truck, and it's pretty awesome. It's a good defining character moment for Ueharu, since she's always like usually behind the computer and not really doing much. Decided to mention that. On the 2nd to the 4th of August, the Big Spider arc takes place. This follows the fate of Big Spider, a skill-out organization who have grown violent against Espers, and its subsequent dissolution at the hands of former leader Kurozuma Wataru. Where is he? He should be in here somewhere. Wataru. There he is, that guy. This was the second arc in the Railgun anime. I think it was an anime original arc, so it actually wasn't in the manga. But yeah, it gives a little bit more focus on skill out, the faction of level 0 delinquents in Academy City. And that's one of the subgroups of skill out is Big Spider. And there was some stuff about how anti-skill and judgment kind of work together to solve it. One of the judgment people is friends with Wataru. I don't remember it too much, but yeah, that's basically the gist of it. Following that, on August 8th, we have the Deep Blood arc of Index. So this follows directly after Toma has lost his memories. He's basically trying to readjust to society and get used to his life as a new person, because he doesn't know what he used to be like. He's trying to convince everybody that he hasn't lost his memory, so he's basically going along with whatever happens. And so this arc starts as a crammed school in Academy City is seized by Aureolus Izzard. He's that alchemist dude who wants to save Index and use a vampire to basically grant her immortality so she can contain all his memories, apparently. Not realizing that Index has already been saved by Toma a few days earlier. So he sees this cram school for his operations. Aureolus Izzard has achieved a magic called Ars Magna, which is basically the holy grail of alchemy. It basically means he can pretty much do anything he wants. He's pretty much got the power of a god, but it's a little bit limited. For one thing, I think he's limited to a temple he's constructed, in which case this is the cram school building. And also, the way it works is he doesn't have full control over it. If he says, like, summon a gun will appear in his hand. If he thinks summon a gun, it'll appear in his hand. Basically, whatever he's thinking, regardless of whether he wants it or not, will manifest in reality. It's pretty fucking crazy. So, basically, not wanting to trigger a war between magic and science, Aleister Crowley requests the help of Style Magnus. Style is the fire magician from the first arc. He's basically like, this is a magic problem. We got a magician in Academy City causing trouble. If a science side person deals with it, that's gonna be a flashpoint for war. We don't want that. It's a diplomatic nightmare, so you deal with it. And it's kind of like a secret operation. And Style goes up to Toma. He's like, hey, Toma, have you been taking care of Index? I've got a job for you. And, like, this is Toma's first interaction with magic. Like, basically, Style's just, like, pulling out magic everywhere. I think, like, he tries to attack Toma with a fireball just because he's pissed off. And, like, Toma's like, what the fuck? Like, what kind of friends did I used to have? And, yeah, basically, because he's trying to keep up the facade, he goes along with whatever Style says. And the two of them attempt to raid the Misawa Cram School. There they find Himagami, who is working with Aureolus Izzard to achieve his goal. And I think I explained that earlier. Basically, you know, trying to attract a vampire to the building because her ability attracts and kills vampires. And there's a bunch of stuff that happens in the books that wasn't really covered in the anime, but I guess it's not super important. There was like a plot of how like Aureolus had created a clone of himself through alchemy, but the clone didn't know he was a clone. And when he realized it was a clone, he had a bit of an existential nightmare. It was a bit spooky. But eventually it all culminates when they wander into the cram school. Aureolus Izzard uses his Ars Magna to erase Style and Toma's memories and make them forget anything they were doing. And then Toma touches his head and he gets his memories back because that's how his hand works. And then he decided to give Styles memories back by punching him in the face. Are you guys still with me? You're being very quiet. Hello?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, good. Just checking in.
So he gets all his memories back just because he was touched on the head?
Oh, no. He doesn't get all his memories back. He only gets the memories that Aureolus took from him.
I see.
The memories that he lost from Index's spell basically destroyed his neurons. It was like kind of the point where you can't really bring anything back. Like his hand can negate magic, but it can't heal people, I guess would be the simple way of explaining it. So Ars Magna had, messed with his memories, but didn't like delete his neurons, so he was still able to cancel it out. Okay, so with that said, back to my notes. So basically what happens then is Aureolus finds Index, brings him into the school, and he's like, I'm going to save her. And then Toma and Style wander up to him, and they basically explain, dude, what the hell? We already saved Index. Like, what are you even doing? And then Aureolus, in a fit of rage, just like, how dare you mock me? I've spent years trying to save this girl. And he basically, in a fit of rage, starts attacking and butchering Style and Toma. It's pretty violent. It's one of the more violent scenes in the story. He basically says, rip to shreds, and then Styles' skin rips off. It's fucking crazy. And then he notices that Toma is negating his attacks with his right hand. So his idea is he uses his magic to form a gun that shoots swords, and he shoots a sword faster than the speed of sound and cuts off Toma's arm quicker than he can react. And he's fucking armless now, and he can't block any of the attacks, and he's bleeding out. And then all of a sudden, Toma, like, kind of starts going crazy. This is a little bit speculative. We don't really know if he was faking it or not. But he basically starts laughing maniacally. And Aureolus freaks out. Basically, what happens is, because he is scared of Toma, he starts imagining things, and that makes his magic activate. So, like, he's like, oh no, they're fighting back. I can't stop them. And then, like, what if Star's going to come back? And then Star comes back to life. And then all of a sudden, a fucking dragon bursts out of Toma's dismembered arm and fucking eats Aureolus. It's crazy. But there's a lot to talk about in this scene. First is, well, basically, Toma wakes up the next day, having not remembered much of the final confrontation. Starl explains that Aureolus was defeated by Toma, but he ended up having his memories erased and sent back into society. Personally, I think it's a lie. Personally, I think, like, Toma actually killed Aureolus, and they're just kind of hiding that fact to protect him. That's my own speculation. But also, the whole thing about the dragon, like, when you're reading this, it definitely seems at the time that Aureolus' magic caused the dragon to burst out of Toma's arm. But, as we see later, this is actually foreshadowing for something really important to the series, which I'm going to spoil right now. So spoilers, in case you're worried about that.
Oh, crap.
Basically,
Oh, no.
Basically, for some reason, Toma has dragons in his arm. We don't know how they got there. We don't know why they're there, but he has dragons in his arm. At least 7, maybe more. I think there's more. I think they actually confirmed in an interview that there was more than 7 dragons. And we don't really know why. We think it's something to do with Imagine Breaker, but it might not be. It might be something different.
What's the normal number of dragons for someone to have inside them?
I think 0.
That seems way too low.
There's 2 dragons inside of you. One.
Yeah, I have a theory about what's going on there. But it's mostly a theory, so I don't know if I'm bringing it up just yet.
A dragon theory.
A dragon theory, but yeah, Toma, he has imagined break-ins and he has imagined dragons.
I was
I'm
not expecting
imagining
that
them
one.
I'm imagining them very hard right now.
Let me see if I can get a picture up really quickly.
Of Imagine Dragons?
No, of Toma dragons.
All the dragons inside him look like members of Macklemore from the different universe.
This is a little bit of a spoiler, but I'm going to bring it up anyway.
I'm pretty sure being here, we were supposed to be fully spoiled anyways.
Yeah.
I am full past spoilers at this point.
Oh, yeah.
I've basically aged into a fine wine.
If you're worried about spoilers, this is the wrong stream for you. Where's my... I'll just paste that in there really quickly. Here we are. So, oh wait, it's not going to let me zoom in, is it? Can I? No. God damn it. I'm just going to post in Discord.
I can see it in really small detail.
There we go. Here's a scene of dragons bursting out of Toma's arm. It's pretty fucking crazy. The dragons, they all seem to have different abilities, but most notably, they can basically just eat magic. It's pretty metal. But yeah, we'll get more into the dragons later. I just wanted to introduce that. In Toaru, this is like a really big foreshadowing for the dragons reveal, which is like way later in the series. But yeah, this is kind of the first foreshadowing of it, so why not explain it all now? Alright, so that all happens, and that's basically the second book of Index, episodes 7 to 9, I believe. And then after that, on August 10th, Wait, I feel like we're missing something. We're definitely missing something. What the fuck? Maybe I forgot to take that in my notes. There's another arc in Railgun. Sometime around then. God, I don't have the date. But there's another arc of Railgun called the Poltergeist arc. Basically, that character, that Kihara we mentioned before, Terestina, she wants to do a thing. It's been years since I watched this arc. I had notes for this. Where did they go? Let me just check one more thing. I think I might have another thing where I've got notes. It's not here. I don't know. I've lost some notes somewhere. Poltergeist arc. I think like they're trying to. No, I don't fucking remember. God, yeah. Sorry, my brain is completely blanking on that arc. I failed. Lobo, yeah. Lobo, you can't explain it. You're in text chat.
Is that a challenge?
Oh, if you want to hop in voice, yeah, sure. I think basically the idea is there's a bunch of earthquakes happening in Academy City. It's revealed that this is due to some girl's power going wild. Hey, Lobo.
So, did you want me to explain the poltergeist?
Fuck, you go. You can probably do it better than I can.
Okay, so it started out when I think I missed you a little bit explaining this, but there's unexplained earthquakes happening in Academy City.
Yeah.
And they believe it's due to psychic powers of some kind because they don't really understand, but they have a very good understanding of how the Earth's tectonic plates work, so they know it's not a real earthquake.
Yeah, RSPK syndrome, I believe they call it.
And so they call it poltergeist activity because they're like, well, it's like a poltergeist, but on a much, much larger scale.
Yeah.
And so, actually, I'm blanking out now.
Right?
So this has to do with the creation of ability crystals for espers that Terestina is involved in.
Yeah. And Kiyama Harami's students, I think like the girls are still in a coma and like one of them is waking up and like that's her power like going into overdrive because they're trying to do like body crystal experiments or something. Something like that. That's basically the gist of it. You know, long story.
And Terestina, sorry.
Yeah, you go.
Terestina is, unbeknownst to everyone, behind it all, but she is on the task force to solve the problem.
Yeah. That's right. They don't know she's behind it all until the very end.
Classic conflict of interest.
And yeah, basically the usual story. The Railgun girls work together and they stop her, and they Kiyama Harumi manages to save the kids in the coma, and everyone is happy. That's
so
basically
I will say
that's the end of Railgun season 1.
Yeah, I think that's the best ending to a season Railgun has had over its 3 seasons.
Really?
Yeah, I mean the second season obviously that's your most hated arc, right?
Well, yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
And then the third one, again, it's like the first arc of season 2, excellent because it.
Anyway, we're not here for discussion. We're here for explanation. So I'm going to get right back into it. So after that, we have the Sisters arc, which is interesting because it's adapted over two series. You have this is detailed in book 3 of Index, the third arc in the anime. It's also detailed as the first arc of season 2 of Railgun. It was also in the manga. The Sisters arc is really important. It's really pivotal to the entire series But it's basically going into the Misaka clones and the level 6 shift project, which I've already explained. They're using the clones to raise Accelerator up to level 6. So I did take a few notes here for basically everything that happens. So it starts with a character called Nunataba is distributing cash cards around Academy City. Where is Nunataba? There she is. She's distributing cash cards in alleys of Academy City, and Saturn Ruiko, the rumor hunter of the group of Railgun girls, she's like, "Oh, free money! We got to get and find this stuff." And Uehara tells her off because they're meant to hand money in to the police. But it's basically like a treasure hunt, and everyone in the city is searching for these money cards. What this has the effect of doing is it's basically sending kids off into these alleys so that shady deals can't happen in them. Specifically, Nunataba is trying to prevent the level 6 shift experiments from happening because they always happen in the corners of Academy City that no one is looking. So she's using these money cards to lure them to those places. I guess she has a lot of money. There's lots of rich kids in Academy City, so I don't really know why she's rich, but she must have a lot of money. So she does that. She's found out by Misaka, and shortly after that, what happens is Misaka ends up meeting her clone, or at least one of them, for the first time. At that point, she didn't know she had any clones. She'd heard some rumors going around the city that there was a cloning project of her, but this is the first time actually seeing it. And she was terrified at first, like, seeing her own clone. She was like, what's going to happen? Are they going to replace me? But the clone ends up really docile. The most notable feature of the Misaka clones is they have a very emotionless way of communicating. And they always end their sentence in third person narration, basically. Like, says Misaka as she goes on talking about herself. And yeah, not to say that they don't have emotions, because they do, but their emotions are very subdued. I think that's something Nunataba notices, because Nunataba was originally a researcher on the Sisters project. But when she realized that the Sisters have feelings and they actually, are real human beings, she left the project because she couldn't deal with the consequences. Like, she couldn't face it. And now she's kind of trying to sabotage the project because she wants to save the Sisters. And so, yeah, Misaka and the sister, they spend a day hanging out. They end up fighting over cats and ice cream and stuff, and it's really cute. And then at the end, Misaka, says goodbye. The clone says goodbye to the original, and she walks off and goes to the level 6 shift experiment and gets killed by Accelerator. It's fucking really depressing. And Misaka figures this out. She manages to follow the sister to the experiment place. A bit too late. She ends up seeing the sister get destroyed by Accelerator. And in a rage, she flies over and tries to fight Accelerator. We've run out of music, so I'll put on something else. She tries using all of her attacks. She has like her lightning spears. She can control magnetism, so she wields like iron sand as like swords and stuff. And she also fires her railgun at Accelerator. And none of them fucking work because Accelerator can reflect any attack dealt towards him, like as long as he can calculate it. So she realizes just how powerless she is and basically falls into despair. And then she sees the clones, and they're just like, okay, time to clean up this dead body and get ready for the next experiment. And Misaka's like, what the fuck? Like, why don't you care about living? And they're just like, the sisters just reply, they finish each other's sentences because they're on a neural network, and they're just like, we're just scrap meat for an experiment. We're just guinea pigs. We don't have any reason to be alive. And Misaka's like really bummed out about that. And let's see. After that, basically what happens is Mikoto, after a lot of thinking, she decides she's going to end the project herself. And so what she does is she takes the brute force method and starts destroying all the laboratories that are involved in this experiment one by one. The researchers notice this, and they begin hiring mercenaries to protect the research facilities. When they realize they're dealing with a level 5, they decide to hire Item. Now, this is the introduction of Item. They're very important characters to the story as well. Item is a mercenary group of espers. They're all kind of they're asked to do shady jobs for Academy City, basically to clean up after people that want to make a mess of things. And they have 4 members. So there's Mugino. She's like the core member of the team. She is the number 4 level 5, and her ability is called Meltdowner. Basically kind of science mumbo jumbo, but the idea is she's able to manipulate electrons in between the process of being a wave or a particle. Long story short, she can harness electrons to shoot powerful beams of energy that can melt through anything. And she can also reshape it into all sorts of shapes. She can make shields out of it. She can make all sorts of stuff. But usually she's using it for lasers and shields. I'm just checking chat here. Alright, I haven't missed anything. Cool. Yeah, so there's also in this group of Item, there is, let me think. There is Taketsubo. Taketsubo is I think she's classified as a level 4. Basically, her ability is called AIM Stalker. Normally, it doesn't do anything, but if she ingests Body Crystal, that thing that Kihara Gensei made, that like overloads Esper's abilities, but like fucks with their bodies. If she ingests a Body Crystal, her ability activates. And what it lets her do is she can basically track somebody. Once she's gotten she can basically detect their AIM field. That's her power. But when she uses the Body Crystal, she can track that AIM field no matter where it goes. She describes it as being able to track someone even if they're on the far end of the galaxy. So it's pretty powerful. And that is especially helpful to them, as she's basically like a spotter for the team. And we also have Frenda. Frenda. There she is. Frenda is a level 0. She's brought to Academy City, but basically her thing is she is a trap expert. Usually demolition. Usually like explosives. She's able to set up intricate traps and use them to defeat her opponents. She's pretty great, and she's got a weird sense of humor too. And we also have Kinohata Sayo. And her ability is what was it called? It was offense armor. I think I've talked about her before because she was part of the Dark Maid project, where they're basically trying to inject Accelerator's personality into a bunch of kids to see if they could replicate his powers. And her power is to manipulate hydrogen atoms to form a force field around her that can block attacks, basically. So she is pretty helpful as well. And together they form the team Item. And what happens in the story here is Item is tasked to take out Misaka. Half of the team, there's basically 2 labs left. Half the team goes to one lab, and the other half goes to the other lab. I think just Frenda, actually. And so Mikoto meets Frenda, and they end up doing battle, not realizing that Mikoto is Mikoto, and she ends up defeating Frenda, but then Mugino comes in to save them. And Mugino has a big grudge against Misaka, even though they've never met, because Misaka is the number 3, and Mugino is the number 4. So she really wants to defeat Misaka to like rise up on the rankings. If you can call them rankings, like it's kind of a nebulous concept, but she obviously cares a lot about it. And they do a big battle, but because Misaka's power is all about manipulating electricity, she can kind of interfere with Mugino's power a little bit by controlling the electrons. So she's able to block the attacks if she like really focuses, but it's difficult because together with Taketsubo can basically track Misaka wherever she goes. So even if like Misaka is running away through the laboratory and all the labyrinth of rooms and stuff, Taketsubo can just point where she is, and Mugino can fire a laser through the whole building and like still target her. It's a pretty great fight scene in the anime. Eventually, Misaka ends up escaping Mugino. She wasn't able to defeat her, but she did escape. And that's how that ends. And Mugido kind of becomes curious in the project, and that's where she ends up learning about the level 6 shift project. Meanwhile, in the other laboratory that she didn't go to, we also have Nunataba, who decided she's going to take advantage of the chaos that's going on and invades that laboratory. And there she ends up encountering Kinahata, who ends up trying to stop her. But Nunataba, what she's trying to do is she's trying to install an emotion program in the Misaka network to help them express their emotions and basically gain a fear of dying so that they might be able to incite some kind of emotions in the researchers that treat them as dispendable products. And this ultimately fails because when she uploads the data into the network, it is blocked. I believe it was blocked by a new security protocol that she wasn't aware of in the Misaka network. And that security protocol is known as Last Order. It is the 20,001st clone. And she's like, there was only meant to be 20,000, so she's kind of a well-kept secret. But basically, she's described as the terminal for the Misaka network. So basically, she has a manual override on the rest of the sisters. That's basically what her role is. And she's also a lot more emotionally expressive than any of the other sisters, which is interesting. So Nunataba ends up being captured by Kinahata, and I think that's the last we end up seeing of her pretty much for the rest of the story. I think she's like dragged into some research. I think she comes up in the next arc in the anime, but yeah. So that all happens, and then Misaka is like, oh, I destroyed the laboratories. Is that it? Is the project over? And she notices that the research organization has disbanded, and she thinks it's over. But then she meets her sister, one of the clones again, and the clone explains the project is still going on. She's like, what the fuck? And Misaka looks into it further, and she realizes that the project has basically just changed its name and subdivided into a lot of smaller organizations. I think it's like 100 laboratories now. She's like, well, fuck, now what do I do? Now she's getting like really depressed about it. She kind of goes into a spiral, ends up destroying laboratories like really sloppily and quickly. And while this is happening, the index side of this arc comes into play, where Kamijo Toma ends up meeting one of the sisters. And he ends up finding out about that the sisters are going through this project of being killed by Accelerator. And Toma, he's overcome with, curiosity. He wants to do something about it. He ends up going to Misaka's dormitory, and there he finds Kuriko, because Misaka is out destroying laboratories and stuff at the moment. And hijinks ensue. Kuriko tries to hide Toma under the bed because she can't teleport him because of his right hand. And under the bed, Toma finds Misaka's papers that she took about the level 6 shift project, and that's how he finds out about the full details. While this is happening, Misaka's basically determined that she only has one more way to stop the project for good, and that is to stop the supercomputer that's been giving the orders to do this project. That supercomputer happens to be destroyed. Tree diagram is what it's called, and that was destroyed in the blast of Index's magic laser beam that happened in the first book that got shot into space. But for some reason the project is still going on, even though that supercomputer is destroyed. I think like the researchers are trying to hide the fact that it's destroyed because they don't want to like incite mass panic across the city. So that bums Misaka out because she realizes it wouldn't have worked anyway. And then in despair, she thinks the only way I can stop this project now is if I fuck with the results. And the only way she can think of doing that is by going to fight Accelerator and getting killed in suicide. And she is about to do that. And then she encounters Toma on the bridge. And Toma knows everything that's happening. And he knows what she is going to do. And he's determined to stop her. And Misaka's like, very angry. She lashes out at Toma. She tries attacking him with electricity. This is the thing they always do because he usually blocks it with his hand. But this time he doesn't block it. And she's like horrified. And he basically explains, I'm not going to move, and I'm not going to block your attacks. You're going to reconsider what you're doing. And it's probably one of the best moments in the whole series. If you watch any moment of Toaru, you got to watch that episode, or rather watch this arc in Railgun. It's fucking amazing. And Misaka, she basically pours all of her electricity into one attack and strikes Toma down, knocking him out. And this horrifies her. And she ends up basically staying with Toma until he wakes up about an hour later. And Toma, Misaka's like fucking crying at this point. And Toma's like, I figured out how I'm going to save you. And he says that I'm going to beat Accelerator. Which is, she tells him that's crazy, no one can beat him. But what we're forgetting here is that Toma has Imagine Breaker. His right hand can negate any supernatural ability. And it turns out that can also negate Accelerator's vector transformation. So what results is a big brawl between Accelerator and Toma, where Toma is able to land punches on Accelerator that he can't deflect. And Accelerator is fucking mortified because he's never been punched before. Because he can always reflect any attack. And he basically starts lashing out at Toma in rage, and they start beating each other up. But through the battle, basically because this poses such a challenge for Accelerator, it actually accelerates God. It speeds up his development as an Esper. And he actually begins approaching level 6 during this battle. What ends up happening is he realizes that he can use his vector to control the plasma in the air, and he can basically use that to create a massive explosion. And he basically starts conjuring
Who put the plasma in there?
Pardon?
Who put the plasma in there?
Science, I don't know. Someone who's more familiar with this kind of thing.
It's science. Gotta explain.
Can I correct this one?
Yeah, go on.
So what Accelerator does is he uses his vector transformation on the wind currents to hyper condense and superheat the air into plasma.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Now that sounds like a good science explanation.
And this is all happening. Toma's kind of knocked out, and Misaka is like, desperate to try and save him. And what she does is she actually ends up reaching out to the sisters, and she's like, Toma's trying to save your life here. Please help him. And what they decide to do is all the sisters basically around the city, they all work together. And I didn't really mention this, but Academy City is covered in air turbines because it's all like wind powered. And what they basically do is they hijack these wind turbines and start making them spin wildly out of control to like fuck with the air currents and throw off Accelerator's calculations. So his power dissipates. And that gives Toma the opening to land a final hit and defeat Accelerator once and for all. This is like a really big moment because like throughout this whole thing, Accelerator has been viewing the sisters as nothing more than meat for the experiment. At first he was a bit hesitant to kill, but like after killing 20 or 100 of them, he kind of got used to it and stopped thinking of them as a human being. And it's kind of fed into his like his complex. But like being beaten up by Toma and being told that these clones are human, like it kind of fucks with him a lot. Like the guilt starts weighing on him, and he begins realizing, fuck, I've literally committed genocide on 10,000 people. Like what the fuck? I'm literally scum. And this kind of begins Accelerator's character arc and development. And Misaka's pretty much fallen in love with Toma at this point, but Toma's too dense to realize it. And I think the sisters might also be in love with Toma, so he's kind of got a harem of 10,000 people now. Yeah. And that's basically the sisters arc. It's one of the best arcs in this series. This also has massive implications for the rest of the series because, I forgot to mention, the experiment is stopped because after Toma defeats Accelerator, the researchers realized that all of their calculations were wrong. Because a level 0 beat a level 5. That's not meant to happen. And they basically scrapped the project because they don't have access to tree diagram and they can't redo the calculations. So they have to drop the project entirely. And basically they have all these 10,000 clones left, and they decide to spread them out across the world to Academy City's cooperative institutions. There's heaps of them all around the world. And this feeds into Aleister Crowley's plan, actually, because part of his plan is to create an AIM network that spreads across the entirety of the globe. And by spreading the sisters out to all points of the Earth, he accomplishes that. So it makes you wonder if maybe Aleister wanted the plan to fail all along, or at the very least he was accounting for that. I think one point that they bring up a lot is that Aleister has like thousands of plans that he can switch tracks between whenever things go wrong. So in the end, everything ends up working towards his master plan in some way. It's pretty wild. So that's the Sisters arc. Do we have any questions?
How cool was it when Accelerator got punched in the face?
It was fucking awesome. And
It is pretty dang good.
So you have seen this arc, CJ?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty fucking good. Yeah, this arc kind of has ripple effects for the rest of the series, so it's very, very important in the story, and I guess why it was adapted twice. So
The second time, it's so much better.
yeah, exactly. The Railgun version is a lot better than the Index version, honestly. Okay, and after that, on August 23, we have the Silent Party arc, which is an anime original arc. It's pretty shit. It's like, it's pretty.
Oh, hell yeah!
This arc kind of like has been retconned. I don't think it's considered canon anymore because stuff that happens in it is like completely forgotten after in the third season of Railgun. But basically,
Wait, what's this arc called?
Silent Party. It was the second arc in the second season. Basically, there's this group called Study, which aim to replace Academy City's Esper development curriculum with the development of artificial human Espers instead, called chemicaloids. So basically, chemical-made humans. Study attempt to stage a coup on Academy City using their chemicaloids' power to control machines, but they are stopped by Judgment, Makoto, and Mugino. Mugino's there as well for some reason. But it doesn't really matter. None of it really matters. So I'm going to skip over that. On the 24th of August, so I've been skipping over a bit. Was there any characters I need to share? I don't think so. I think we're mostly good. But going back to Itzali, on the 24th of August, we have Itzali replaces Unibara Mitsuki. So basically, Unibara is this guy in Academy City. He's just an ordinary dude. Itzali takes his body and what he does is he basically has this Aztec magic where if he takes a piece of someone's skin, he can use that to mimic their appearance. So he basically captures Unibara and then takes on his appearance, and he uses that appearance to get close to Misaka, basically like following around everywhere, pretending to have a crush on her, actually developing a crush in this process, and then basically trying to suss out whether or not she is a threat to the world. And then on the 28th of August, we have the Angel Fall arc in Index. This is the fourth book. A lot happened in this, but basically it starts out with, after defeating Accelerator, there's a lot of people that see Toma as the top dog in Academy City. And it's kind of caused a lot of chaos. There's like researchers trying to get their hands on him, and there's delinquents trying to beat him up. And wanting to like protect Toma, his teacher Komoe reaches out to... Wait, where is she? Where the fuck's Komoe? There she is. Komoe reaches out to Toma and basically tells him, you need to take a vacation.
That's a great face, by the way. Oh my gosh.
She's great. She basically reaches out and she's like, Toma, you need to take a vacation. Get the fuck out of Academy City for a few days while this all blows over. And that's what happens. Toma needs to get nanomachines injected in him because he's leaving the city. But for some reason, like, he's really worried because he thought Index was like an illegal immigrant in the city. But it turns out she already had like a passport and everything, and the system just recognizes her, which kind of suggests that like Aleister has pulled some strings to like make her a legal resident. So they leave the city and they go on a vacation, and Toma meets his parents for the first time. There's Toya there.
Or like for the first, or are we as the readers?
No, he remember he's lost his memories.
Oh right.
Yeah. So he meets his parents for the first time. And they basically go. This is basically the beach episode, I guess. They go to like a beach vacation, but what ends up happening is for some reason, they meet, and everyone like I think what happens is like they meet and they spend a night at a hostel or motel, and they wake up the next day and everyone's bodies has switched around, and it's really fucking weird. For some reason, his mother looks like Index. His cousin looks like Mikoto. Index looks like Aogami, his idiot classmate. And it's just really confusing. And he has no idea what's going on. Also, there's a funny scene of the anime where basically they have like they cut the news in America, and the president of the United States is Kuroko, and it's fucking hilarious.
Oh, what the hell?
It'd be a lot better than what's going on right now, I think.
That is topical, yes. Yeah, so this is all going on. Tomo has no idea what's going on, and then he ends up running into this person. Where is she? This person here. I put her name as Sasha. We'll get to that. She calls herself Misha Kroitsev. She is a magician from the Russian Orthodox Church. And basically, she believes that Toma is the cause of this massive distortion that's switching people's bodies around. Most people don't recognize it, but some of the magicians did, and they were able to cast a spell that kind of prevents it from directly affecting them. And that's how they notice. Toma has his imagined breaker, so he notices as well by default. He also ends up meeting Kanzaki and another character. Where is he? Where is he? Motoharu. We talked about him earlier. He's like the double agent of Academy City. He's actually Toma's classmate, and so Toma had no idea he was even involved with magic or anything. So this is kind of a big reveal. At first, he thought it was like a body swap, but no, that's actually him. He's just kind of he knows more than he lets on. And the four of them kind of work together and start brainstorming what's going on. And their theory is basically what's happened is an angel has descended to the mortal world. They don't know.
That would explain why it's angel fall.
Pardon?
That would explain the angel fall part of it.
Yeah, the thing is called angel fall, and they reference the Jewish Kabbalah a lot in this. The idea that basically...
Love that.
Pardon?
That's my culture. Love that.
Hey. They basically reference that this angel has fallen through the four worlds of the Sephiroth, and it's come to the mortal world. And it's basically fucked with the world of form. So by... the way they describe it is like it's a game of musical chairs where there's all these chairs representing all the people on Earth, and there's one more person, the angel, that wants to sit down, but there's no chairs. And so by taking one of those chairs, it's kind of fucked up everybody else's forms, and everyone's all mixed up and jumbled. It's the way they explain it. And so they're trying to find out who is causing the spell and how to stop it. Yeah. And I also mentioned that Tsuchimikado, he's also a Esper magician hybrid because of his unique position and his ability to like heal his blood vessels. So first they suspect in the book, this is kind of skipped in the anime, but in the books they suspect that there was a serial killer that might have been responsible for this event happening. All they know is that it was somewhere in Japan in their local area. And they first suspected Toma, but then they realized, oh, it's his imagined breaker, it's not him. But they also deduced that it was someone close to Toma. Eventually, they scrapped the serial killer theory when they realized that the source of the magic was Toma's family home. And they're like, what the fuck's going on there? And they think that Toma's dad, Toya, is the person who cast the spell. And they're like, how the fuck could that happen? Toma goes to confront his dad, and he's like, he believes that Toya basically called this angel down to try and save Toma or something. That's Toma's theory. But then To's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I have no idea. What's an angel? What are you talking about? And then they realize the way this angel has been summoned into this world is actually an accident. What has happened is, I mentioned earlier that Toya has been traveling the world collecting souvenirs and good luck charms to cure Toma's misfortune. And by collecting all of those items in his house, according to the specific feng shui of the positioning of the items in the house, it created a very elaborate magic circle, which allowed an angel to be summoned down into the mortal world by complete accident. So that's a bit of an anticlimax that you don't see very often. What was I going to say? It's on the tip of my tongue. Well, basically, the angel's been found out now. It was actually the one calling herself Sasha. She describes herself as the power of God, which, if you study theology, you'll understand that refers to Gabriel, the archangel. And so, yeah, Gabriel Archangel is taking on the name of Sasha and inhabiting this girl's body, or at least taking her appearance. Now, I think inhabiting her body is accurate. It's confusing. But basically, this girl's actually called Misha in real life. And for some reason, she's taken on the name Sasha here. It goes back to the whole thing I was talking about last stream with the great distortion of the four elements. Tsuchimikado basically explains that because of this distortion, it allows crazy shit like this to happen. It allows Gabriel to fall to earth, which isn't normally supposed to happen. Also worth noting, in Toaru, they explain that angels basically aren't sentient in this story. They basically explain that the angels are more like puppets of God. They're kind of like basically automated. Like, they don't really have any sort of like will or feelings. They just operate on basic rules and laws. And following on from this, when Gabriel, Misha, whatever you want to call, Gabriel or Sasha, whatever you want to call them, or Misha. Oh God, I'm mixing them up. Gabriel and Misha, that's the one. They want to get back to heaven, and the only way they can think to do that is to blow up the earth. And basically...
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. And what happens is, once they're found out...
People live on that.
Once their identity is revealed, they basically use their great celestial magic to move all the stars in the sky. Like, they realign space to create a magic circle that encompasses the whole galaxy. And they're about to summon a spell they call the Sweep, which is like basically the divine hellfire from Revelations, and looking to destroy the world. So that's great. Kanzaki decides to fight Gabriel, because she explains that normally a person of the Christian faith can't harm God or God's angels. But because she is part of the Amakusa, and the Amakusa also incorporates Shintoism and Buddhism, which are polytheisms, she is able to wield her sword against a divine being. So she can do that when any other like Christian denomination wouldn't be able to. So in the books, this is a pretty amazing battle. In the anime, it looks kind of shit, so that's disappointing. But yeah, basically that happens, and then Tsuchimikado, he has decided that he's going to kill Toya to end the spell.
So hold on. After the spell circle, I'm trying to get the order of operations correct. So when does Come Sister Todd start playing?
Yeah, kind of reaching that point. And so Tsuchimikado is about to kill Toya. Toma's like, no, I'm going to protect you, Dad. And he tries to beat up Tsuchimikado and immediately gets pummeled. Like, Toma can block magic with his hand like nobody's business, but in a fist fight against a professional spy, he doesn't stand a chance. So he gets the crap kicked out of him. And just when he thinks that Tsuchimikado is about to kill his dad, he actually reveals, sorry, I was lying, and he uses magic. He uses Onmyodo magic to basically blow up his dad's house. The idea was they need a powerful spell to blow it all up at once. Otherwise, if they just basically, if they move any of the items in that house, it could cause a cataclysmic event. So they need to blow up the whole magic circle at once. So he uses magic. He's coughing up blood while he's doing it because he's an Esper. And Toma's like, oh no, you're sacrificing yourself for me. Oh no. And then like Tsuchimikado collapses in a pile of blood. And Toma collapses too, wakes up in the hospital the next day. He thinks Tsuchimikado is dead, but it turns out Tsuchimikado just walks into the hospital. Is like, hey, it was just a joke again, just a prank, dude. I can actually have an Esper power that protects me from that shit. It's like, god damn it. And yeah, so they destroy the spell. So Gabriel disappears and returns back to heaven, and everything is dandy again. So that's the Angel Fall arc. It's kind of a big arc in the story, but it doesn't feel like it. It's only like 3 episodes in the anime. It was a bit more climactic in the books, I feel. Any questions?
No, I think I got that one.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I got a person asking if we're into femboys in the chat. I know I should ban them or not.
Hey, what?
I don't know.
Wait, was the angel a femboy?
No. Okay.
No, that was episode 24. I got it. A certain scientific femboy.
I need to hurry up because we are running out of time. Oh no. On the 31st of August, the 3 stories arc happens, which is the 4th book of Index. No, wait, 5th book of Index, 5th book. And this is basically 3 short stories compiled into one book. The first is we have the follow-up of the story with Etsali. And basically he is trying to get close to Misaka. Toma ends up discovering the original Unibara, and Etsali pulls out his oh no, I need to pronounce this, his Spear of Clahiscabadecutli or something. It's a fucking really long Aztec word. And he pulls that out, and it's basically an obsidian dagger that reflects the light of Venus, I believe it was. And as long as like he positions his knife so that Venus is shining down on it, he can reflect the light, and anything that light touches is destroyed. It's pretty powerful. It's been used to anything to destroy like an obstacle, or to harm a person, or to destroy an entire apartment complex. Like, it's pretty wild. And Toma decides to fight back against this by going into a construction site, grabbing some cement dust and just tossing it over the spear so it can't reflect light anymore. And then he fucking punches the dagger, and then it explodes, and then he defeats Etsali. And Etsali basically explains that, you've got all these powerful espers and magicians gathering around you. You're becoming a threat to the peace between the magic and the science side, and there's going to be more and more people coming after you. But Etsali is like, I don't know, he's kind of like, I guess, accepted Toma and Misaka, and he kind of has a crush on Misaka, so he's basically like, Toma, please protect Misaka for me, because I can't do it. What happens after this is Toma leaves Tsuchimikado to deal with Etsali, and then he blackmails Etsali into joining the Esper mercenary team group. Actually, at the moment, it's just got Tsuchimikado and Etsali, but there'll be more members joining later. And Etsali believes he can protect Mikoto from the shadows of the city this way. The second story of the book is this guy called Yamisaki Oma. Some woman is cursed to die, and he wants to save her. So he's like, if I steal the knowledge inside Index's head, I'll find a way to save her life. And he like kidnaps Index, and there's a whole thing where Toma has to go and rescue her. But then like Toma rescues her quite easily, at least in the anime it was quite easy. And then he's basically like, what the fuck, Oma? Like, you could just ask us for help and we'll help you. Like, you don't have to like try to kidnap her or anything. And then they basically just go, it's like, okay, where's your girl? We'll save her. and then they leave Academy City to go save her, and it all happens off screen. It's pretty funny. It's like a real anticlimax. That story really doesn't matter. It's like never brought up ever again. It's just kind of a thing that happens. But the real important story of this arc is we get the continuation of Accelerator's story, where Accelerator meets Last Order for the first time, and Last Order basically tries confronting Accelerator. Accelerator's like not. He's kind of just like got nothing to do at the moment. He's just like wandering around the city, drinking cans of coffee and sleeping the rest of the day. And Last Order reaches out to him and like tries to have a conversation with him. And Accelerator like feels intense guilt. So he kind of just like goes along with it. He doesn't want to like refuse Last Order. But then Last Order starts saying that Accelerator isn't a bad person. She insists that because he was participating in the experiment, even though he killed like 10,000 of the clones, it doesn't mean he's a bad person, because he was always trying to inspire some reaction in the sisters. Like he was always taunting them and trying to get them to fight back or trying to get them to beg for their lives, and they never did. So Last Order believes he was being brainwashed, which is kind of powerful because she carries the memories of like the 10,000 clones who were killed by him, and to see that she doesn't actually resent him is like pretty amazing. But Accelerator like is still like guilt stricken over this. Like he's the Shadow the Hedgehog of Index. He's like, I can never be forgiven for my
That
sin.
is a description.
Yeah. He's very anti-hero. But then like he realizes
I love Shadow the Hedgehog archetypes of characters. They're usually my favorite in any media.
But yeah, basically Last Order, he finds out the Last Order is like sick. And instead of like caring for her and being a good person, he just like leaves her in the restaurant. It's just like, whatever, I'm going now. And you think, oh, what a cold asshole. But then he actually goes to meet someone. He goes to meet Yoshikawa, who was a former researcher on the Level 6 Shift project. And he's like, he asks about Last Order, and she explains that Last Order has been infected with a virus that is going to basically infect the entire Misaka network and send all of the clones into a homicidal rage if they don't stop it soon. And she's trying to stop it. This virus was inflicted by Amai Al, another researcher on the project. I don't really get his deal. I don't know why. I think he's just angry that the project failed and he just wants to get revenge on society. I know. He's a very typical bad guy, kind of irredeemable. And Yoshikawa's trying to stop him. And she basically explains to Accelerator, you have two options. You can either do what you're known for and you can go beat up a Mai Ao, or you can take this vaccine to Last Order and save her life. And he's like, the thing I choose should be obvious. And he goes to reach for the location of a Mai Ao. But then it cuts to him actually taking the vaccine. He's like, oh, he's actually got a good side to him. And then the next episode is basically him rushing to save Last Order's life. Amai Ao tries to escape the city, so he can't be tracked, but he fails because, as it turns out, the borders of the city have been locked down because someone snuck out of the city. Toma sneaking out to save that guy. So he's stuck in the city, and Accelerator manages to catch up with him, beats up Amai, and then goes to save Last Order. He notices that the virus is already beginning to activate, and it doesn't seem like the vaccine code is going to work. So his idea is, instead of like doing this normally and hooking her up to a computer and inputting the vaccine that way, he's going to crack open the vaccine PDA, just stick his finger in there, and then read the data through his vector transformation power and insert the code directly into the Misaka, into Last Order's brain. It's kind of badass, and it requires his full vector power to be able to do it. It's like basically doing neuron level brain surgery to try and save her life. And while he's doing this, Amai Ao becomes conscious again, and he's about to shoot Accelerator. And because he's doing this delicate operation, he can't actually use his reflection power. So when he gets shot, he takes a bullet to the head and passes out. And Amai thinks he's won, but then Accelerator stands up again. It looks like he managed to stop the bullet right before it like really penetrated his brain, so he was just able to avoid a lethal injury. And he ends up, attacking Amai, but then he passes out again. And then Yoshikawa shows up and pulls out a gun on Amai, and she's basically gives this really badass speech of how, we're both sinners, it's time for us both to die here for what we've done for this experiment. And they both shoot each other. Amai dies, but Yoshikawa is actually saved by Accelerator, apparently subconsciously using his power while he was on the verge of consciousness to stop her bleeding and save her life. And then both Accelerator and Yoshikawa are brought into the hospital. They are treated by Heaven Counselor, and what happens is Accelerator's life is saved. However, he sustains a permanent brain injury, which affects his frontal lobe. And so
this poor guy's brain.
Heaven Counselor, his whole thing is he can heal anybody. He's such a badass. Yoshikawa asks, can you save Accelerator's life? He's like, who the hell do you think I am? I'm going to save his life and I'm going to bring his power back. Because basically, because of the brain injury, Accelerator loses his vector powers, and he also loses his ability to speak and think properly. What Heaven Counselor does, he basically devises a plan where he's going to use the device to connect Accelerator's brain to the Misaka network. So the Misaka network can basically use the cloud, to offload his brain processing so that the Misaka network are able to perform those calculations for him and keep his brain working. It's pretty wild. So his life is literally in the hands of the girls that he killed. It's pretty poetic. And Yoshikawa's fine. She lives on fine. And so that's that arc. And Last Order's fine, I forgot to mention. She was saved as well. No problems with her. So that's that arc. And then on the 1st of September, we have the Kazakiri Hyoka arc, which is the 6th book and the finale of the first season of Index. This follows basically, to start off with, Himegami. Since her arc in the 2nd book, she's basically been living with Komoe, and that was the teacher lady there. And Himegami ends up transferring into Komoe and Tomo's school as a classmate. And they basically do this whole gag of how she's the girl that everyone overlooks, and no one really pays attention to her, even though she's a transfer student. And then meanwhile, Index comes running into Tomo's school because she's hungry, and she gets kicked out of the classroom, and then she's wandering the school, and she meets a girl called Kazakiri Hyoka. And apparently Kazakiri is new to the school as well, and another transfer student that no one knew about. What it is revealed, though, is Kazakiri is actually not even a human. She is an amalgamation of all of the AIM networks in Academy City kind of mixing together and forming a sense of sentience. The system itself, the network itself becomes sentient, and that's what Kazakiri is. She doesn't really know what she is. She thinks she's a human. But yeah, she's basically a thought being that's manifested in the world. And so Index becomes friends with Kazakiri, not knowing she's inhuman. So does Toma. And while this is all happening, Academy City gets invaded by Sherry Cromwell. Sherry, I think we introduced her before. She wants to keep magic and science separate. She's a member of Necessarius of the Anglican Church. And her goal is to keep magic and science separate because her friend, when they were kids, she was part of the Esper hybrid program and ended up losing her life because she tried to use magic as an Esper. And so she wants to keep magic and science separate so that never happens again. Hey Google, light on. Now, so the way she does is she basically invades Academy City. Her magic is golems, so she's able to summon a huge golem of rock and earth. It basically takes in any of the cement or objects around and just mushes them all together into the form of a golem that she can control. And she uses this to pick a fight with Academy City. Kuriko tries fighting, but ends up losing because teleporting doesn't help much against a giant golem. And Misaka also joins, but Sherry ends up escaping. And eventually it's revealed that Sherry is targeting 3 people. She's targeting Index, Toma, and Kazakiri. because she believes those three are central to the growing, like, what's the word? Not conflict, but intersection between magic and science. And she wants to deal with them first, so she could basically create a flashpoint to trigger a war between magic and science. That's her ultimate goal. And she ends up fighting with them in an underground subway. It's a bit of a dramatic scene where we have this person here, Yomikawa, from Anti-Skill, the police force of Academy City. They're all trying to fight against this golem, but their guns are completely ineffective. And in the books, like, they're getting ripped to shreds. It was actually quite violent. It was toned down a lot in the anime. But Toma and Kazakiri are left behind, and Toma wants to try and stop the golem. And they actually manage a bit of success. Toma is able to punch the golem, which makes its form disintegrate. But of course, there's nothing stopping Sherry from summoning another one. So she basically just escapes, and then... Oh wait, no, I'm skipping ahead. There's also a thing that happened where Kazakiri rushes into the battle to try and save Toma, and she basically gets her head blown off, but she realizes that she's still alive. And people realize that, oh, there's a hole in your head and you're still functioning, you're not human. And she basically has an existential crisis over that. And she's like, oh no, I'm a monster.
As one would.
And what's kind of interesting, another thing I forgot to mention is Kazakiri was kind of born from Toma. The idea is that basically Toma's right hand negates any supernatural phenomena. And so the AIM network basically detected it as a threat, and that fear of Imagined Breaker gave rise to the sentient being known as Kazakiri Hyoka. It's basically the explanation. So Kazakiri is, she's pictured as a very timid girl, but she's only timid around Toma, and we realize that's because she has an instinctual fear of his right hand. So theoretically, if Toma were to touch Kazakiri, she would just immediately disappear. And so this arc is kind of the point where Toma... He's always been the one to destroy illusions with his right hand. This is the first time he wants to protect an illusion, not destroy it. Because basically, he has a phone call with Komoe, and Komoe is like, so what if this girl is like an AM thought being? She's your friend, isn't she? Like, why does it matter if she's not human? She basically gives Toma some pep talk, and then Toma's like, you're right, sensei. And then, yeah, like, he commits himself to protecting Kazakiri, even though she's not human. I'm going to chuck on some more music. Yeah, that's not really fitting, but I'll do. And so Kazakiri is like running about. She basically determines that because she's a monster, she can fight other monsters, and she's going to fight against Sherry and the golem. And Toma rushes in to help her. He ends up fighting against Sherry, and Sherry sends her golem elsewhere to defeat Index while the rest of them are occupied. And Toma beats up Sherry, but the golem is left in automation mode because it loses direct control. And it basically goes to fight Index, and because it's in automation mode... No, I'm skipping ahead again. Index basically, she actually defends herself a little bit, which is kind of surprising because she can't use magic. But what she does is she actually uses, basically, I call it magic hacking. She basically gives commands to the golem in a certain notation used by Sherry to basically interfere with its commands and make it spin out of control. But when Sherry's defeated and the golem goes into automation mode, actually I think I have a picture of the golem here. There it is. There's a golem. It's kind of hard to see, but there he is. When it's in automation mode, it basically starts getting bigger and bigger. It starts sucking in all the material from the nearby buildings and getting massive. And Kazakiri tries to stop it, but she can't. And then eventually it's up to Toma to get the final blow, and he ends up stopping it. Now that the golem's defeated and Sherry's defeated, he kind of like... Toma not only beats Sherry up, he kind of like showed her that her desires don't make any sense. Like, she's trying to save people by killing people. It's like, yeah, he basically exposes the contradiction of her beliefs, and she ends up dropping the whole thing. But Kazakiri is like, well, I like you, Index and Toma, but I'm not human, so I'm going to disappear. And Index basically catches up to her, and they have a big sweet moment where Index gives her a hug and tells her, "It doesn't matter if you're not human, you're still my friend," and it's really nice. That's basically where they cap off season 1. And they also have a scene where Tsuchimikado confronts where is he? Motoharu. Where Tsuchimikado confronts Aleister Crowley in his windowless building. And basically, they have a conversation where Aleister goes into his plans a little bit and explains that he's basically trying to create an artificial heaven. Basically, Kazakiri Hyoka is the key to what they call the imaginary numbers district of Academy City, which is a special phase of Academy City, which has been created through the AIM diffusion fields of every Esper in the city. It's kind of like a separate dimension that only Kazakiri has control over, and the energy in that separate dimension. And that ties into his plans as well, but we'll get into how and why a little bit later. So far so good. Any questions?
No.
How are you feeling, Lizzie?
What was that?
Lizzie, how are you feeling? Lizzie, are you still there? Wow.
Possibly internet went out.
We might need to stop here.
I
sucks.
do need to walk the dog.
Well, we didn't get to the 30th of September, which
I don't
sucked.
think we didn't get close.
No, we got to the start of September. There's still a lot to talk about. We've covered the first season of Index and the first 2 seasons of Railgun. There's still also the Accelerator series. There's 2 seasons of Index. We've still got a lot to get through. Looks like Lizzie has gone disconnected.
Oh, there it is.
Yep, there it is. I'm just going to wait a minute and see if she comes back. Fuck, we're only 6 books into Index. We've still got like 40 to go.
It's gonna be a weekly series.
I think so.
Dang.
We would have got further if we had that an hour and a half more. Does anyone chat at the moment? We just finished 24 episodes of Index. That means only 5 times more to go. Something like that.
How many seasons are there of the anime?
There's 3 seasons of Index and 3 seasons of Railgun and 1 season of Accelerator. And there's also Astro Body and Dark Matter as well. We got to get into that as well.
Do those have anime series?
Not yet, no. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Especially in like this sort of period of time. Like right at the part we're at is where it starts getting really busy in the timeline. Lots of like spin-offs and stuff happening at once. I'm just going to ask, are you coming back? She's trying to come back. All right. Just a minute, folks. There's some technical difficulties. Yeah, she's having some internet problems with her internet provider. Maybe. Maybe we just need to cut it there. I know she's coming back. Alrighty, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how informed do you feel about Toaru after my explanations?
I mean, I definitely know a lot more.
You probably know a lot.
There's kind of a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I've given you a lot of backstory and spoilers and stuff that a lot of people don't know too. So you kind of like, your knowledge is very all over the place at the moment.
Yeah, like, well, I guess I'm not sure what I'm trying to say.
It's okay. Lizzie's just typing something now. Man, no shortage of technical problems today. But it's kind of wild how much of the Railgun arcs are anime original, especially for the first 2 seasons. Like, they really padded that out with original stuff because I guess the manga was still ongoing and they wanted to fill out the full 22 episodes.
Hmm.
Oh, here we go. Lizzie's done for. Last time this happened, she was offline for 5 hours and phone connect. Yeah, I think Lizzie's out. Lobo just
Wow, you got loud real fast.
Oh, it's doing that thing again. Testing. There we go. Okay, we're back. Yeah, like Lobo was saying in chat, those anime original arcs are mostly canon, except for Silent Party, which is really dubious right now. Wait.
Hello? Am I back?
Hey, you're back.
Oh, you're back.
Aha!
There we go. Where did you cut out?
Just about.
Did you get the stuff?
Just about 5-7 minutes ago, I think.
Did you catch the end of the arc?
I think I missed the very end.
So yeah, basically, Toma stops the golem. They're able to, convince Sherry she's an idiot.
That's the last thing I heard.
Yeah, and then basically, Tsuchi Mikado and Alaista have a conversation in the windowless building where Alaista explains that he's basically using Kazakiri as a key to the imaginary number district of Academy City, which is a special phase that is created through the aim division fields of every Esper in the city. And that phase has a special kind of energy that he is harnessing. And then Tsuchi Mikado is like, wait, that's basically that's like heaven. It's like heaven being filled with telesma and with an angel. Like, Kazakiri is an angel. You're creating heaven? This is like a big dramatic thing. So yeah, Alaista may or may not be creating an artificial heaven, is kind of where that book ends. So yeah, that is the first season of Index done, the first 6 books. We've still got like 50.
Wow, that is pretty far.
Not really. We've still got like 50 books to go. Or 40 books.
Oh!
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about last time where we made it through the first volume.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of backstory in that.
Yeah, most of that was backstory. I think, yeah, unfortunately we weren't able to get to the 30th of September for this stream, but that's okay. We'll have to do that next time. I reckon we can get through most of. Actually, it gets pretty dense around this point because there's a lot of side stories and stuff that kind of happen around the same time. This is where the story starts getting big and complicated. Mostly arcs up until this.
It's complicated. It wasn't complicated before.
I don't think so. I think the first 6 books are relatively simple, but when you start getting into the huge cast of characters, it gets a lot more complicated. So that'll be exciting to try and tackle that. I think this is going to take more than 3 parts. I think we may be looking at a 5-part series or more. So, I guess this is a weekly thing now. Toaru Explained Wednesdays.
Might need to push it to Thursday if I keep having internet problems on Wednesday.
Do you reckon it's a weekday thing?
Wait, Wednesday?
It's your Wednesday.
Wednesday.
It was my Tuesday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we will schedule this again for next week, probably the same time, but we might be shifting it around a little bit. Well, it just depends on how everyone's schedule is, but we will see. Thank you everyone for tuning into the stream. This is taking an amazingly long time, and I'm gonna have to compile them all together and be like, look at me taking fucking 24 hours to explain the story of Toaru.
Well, really in depth.
I don't think I'm going to take 24 hours, but yes, this is a fucking complicated series. It's been going on for is it 2 decades
17
now?
years?
Yeah, 17 years, nearly 2 decades now.
Jeez.
So we've got a lot to cover. Just wait until England. Yeah. Oh my God. So much. All right, I'm going to close this off. So thank you everybody for joining the stream. I'm just going to check if there's anybody I can anyone I can raid real quick. And sorry again for the technical difficulties. We should be better prepared next week. Should have a lot more time.
I hope so. Sorry, my internet keeps having trouble. I feel so bad.
No, it's all good. It's not your fault. Alrighty. So thank you everybody, and I will be signing out. Wait. I'm probably going to be streaming Genshin Impact later, not going to lie. So,
that's about right.
So look forward to that. With that said, catch you later, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.